Okay, folks, today is the 26th of July, 2024. It's a Friday. I'm off today, and I have decided to go ahead and remove the differential from my 2013 Expedition. If you saw the previous video, I'm getting ready to change the gear in that differential. So last week, I bought a complete third member from a junkyard that already had a 373 gear in it. Picked it up for $100. It had been out in the weather, removed from the vehicle, so I decided to go ahead and take it apart and inspect it, make sure it didn't have any contamination in it. It did have a little bit of water in it, but nothing was really damaged. A little bit of water spots on the carrier bearing races, the outer race. So I ordered some new parts, new seals, new axle seals, and a new pinion seal. And I'll get this put back together and put it back in this truck. But I wanted to make a video about how to remove the differential from one of these independent rear suspension Expeditions or Navigators. I couldn't really find any videos online on YouTube about how to do this, so I figured I'd make one. And before I get started, I'll just let you know that this is heavy work. If you're the kind of guy that wears sandals with socks, or if you wear a visor, somebody like that. If you've ridden in the passenger seat and played games on your phone while your wife drives, this probably isn't a job that you're going to want to undertake. This is man's work here. Anyway, the rear suspension on these trucks is fairly complicated. And I believe the axles are a little bit different lengths. I'm not 100% sure yet because I don't have them out. But the driver's side one was a little bit easier to get apart. I did not have to fully remove the knuckle from the chassis members. I just needed to unbolt it on the top. Unbolted this radius rod and this one here on the top, right here and here. And I also had to unbolt this lower one down here to get a little bit more movement. So just those 3 points, and then I was able to pull it back out of the way enough to get the axle out of the hub. It was a little bit difficult because it had some dry rust in there, so it didn't slide very easy. You may have to knock it out with a hammer. Just be careful, don't hit it too hard and booger up the threads. But this axle is now ready to pull out of the differential on this side. So that'll be the first step when removing this differential. You've got to get the knuckles apart so you can pull the axles out. The passenger side was a little bit different. So on this side, I had to remove the knuckle from the suspension. I think this axle here is a little bit shorter, so the angles are different in the way it works. Also, this is the emergency brake cable right here, and it doesn't have as much slack in it on this side as the driver's side did, and so it limited the motion on this knuckle while it was still attached to the lower ball joint here. So just be advised, when you get ready to do the passenger side, you're going to have to remove the knuckle completely from the chassis members, so you can get the axle free of it. I also unbolted the brake caliper from it and hung it up out of the way because the brake line comes from the rear side. Now I haven't started underneath the vehicle yet. I'll have to make another part to this video once I get started on that, but I don't think it's going to be too difficult. You have to remove the spare tire to get it out of your way. You've got a nut recessed in the frame here and another one over here on the driver's side. Those go to the rear cover of the differential. You'll have to remove those so you can get it down. Then up on the front here, of course, you got to unbolt the drive shaft, and it's got a torque arm on it that has an attachment point right there that will need to be unbolted. And it's not gonna, there's not enough room to move it forward to drop the differential down with it on. So you'll also have to unbolt the torque arm from the differential. Here on the passenger side, there's 4 bolts. And then once the torque arm is out of the way and the drive shaft is down out of your way, the differential should slide forward on a jack so that the studs will clear the frame, and then you can let it down. Of course, after you pull the axles out of the side of the differential. Shouldn't be too complicated, but like I said, this is going to be heavy work. So I'll make another part to the video about this function as soon as I get it done. I'm getting too old for this shit, I think. Another thing I'm going to do while I have this thing apart is replace the rear struts. I went ahead and bought some Monroe quick struts for this. I don't remember the part number off the top of my head, but I'll put it in the description. I got these on eBay. They run about $150 to $170 a piece at your local auto parts stores, I think. But I got these ones for about $99 each, free shipping, from a seller on eBay. There are some differences. My original strut has a 20 millimeter spring on it. That's the diameter of the spring wire. This new strut has 19 millimeter spring wire. Also, the spring is a little bit longer than the original spring. The spring mount on the shock absorber tube is actually about 3/4 of an inch lower than the original arrangement, to accommodate for the longer spring with smaller wire. So this spring obviously has a different spring rate than that one. It'll probably ride a little bit smoother, but I don't know what it's going to do for my payload carrying capacity. I guess we'll see. I'm a little bit disappointed that it's not exactly the same. Also, it does not have a dust boot on it like the original one has. So just be advised about that. All right, I'm gonna take a lunch break and resume the differential removal here in a little bit, and then I'll make another part to the video. Thanks for watching. Okay, folks, here we go. So it's out of the vehicle. Was not, like I said, it was not very complicated, but it is a little bit strenuous, especially if you're going to do this by yourself. I did end up having to drop the sway bar down out of my way. It was right in the way of the pinion gear drive shaft area, so I just took it off. Wasn't a big deal. But the differential is very heavy. It probably weighs close to 100 pounds, give or take. It's quite dense, and it does not balance on the jack very well, so it's a little bit awkward. These studs that are on the cover where it mounts to the rear frame there are pretty long. They're about 4.5 inches long, and so it has to slide forward in a level attitude to get free of the frame before you drop it down. And once it gets free of the frame, it gets pretty wily because, like I said, it doesn't balance on the jack very well. So you're better off if you get the jack right under the rear edge, and maybe if you have a second person to help you manage the front end of it as you're lowering it down from the truck. So yeah, Not too terrible of a job, but like I said, it's pretty strenuous work. There's the torque arm removed. Both the axles came out really easy. I just used a screwdriver to pry them loose from the side of the differential. They popped right out. They do have a little spring clip in here, so it's a little difficult at first, but it doesn't take much effort and they come loose. And like I suspected, this is the driver's side axle. It's about 1.5 inches longer than the passenger side axle. Yeah, so there you have it. If you're going to be having to do some differential maintenance on a 2003 and later Ford Expedition, this is what you're going to be into. There may have been some minor differences through the years. I think 03 to 17 is basically the same arrangement. I'm not 100% sure, but I think there may have been some differences in 2018 and later vehicles. But I suspect they're all very similar. All right. Thanks for watching.